Hello everyone, it is I, Mr. JohnnyStar here with a brand new series that we're starting on the channel. It is Johnny versus the comments. I wanted to start this as a way to finally properly engage with everyone who watches the videos and leave comments and stuff like that. I originally tried to do something last year with like kind of a Q&A thing where like I had you guys like ask random non-specific questions in like a post on the YouTube channel, and I just felt like it wasn't enough. Well, it didn't really give you guys a lot of direction in terms of like the questions to ask, and it also led to a lot of the same questions. One of my favorite YouTubers, Patrick Willems, amazing channel, you should check it out. He's made a lot of videos on like movies and stuff like that, but he also has a second channel where he does a replies to comments style video format that I think is really cool and dope. So I want to do it on the channel here. So thank you, Patrick, if you're watching. I love you. You inspire me. And I hope you don't mind me ripping you off a little bit. Thanks, pal. Moving forward, we're going to be doing these types of videos. I want to do at least 3 that will go up on the channel, and then the rest are going to go up on Patreon. Listen, I want you guys on the Patreon, okay? We have a Discord now. We have a place where people can gather, congregate, and talk about all things anime, manga, comic books, video games, whatever. We got a good gang going on over there, okay? And I want more people in there. It's that easy. Come on. You're sitting on the couch. So that's the new format for the videos moving forward. If on a brand new video you have a comment that you have about the topic of the video that you want to be in one of these, put the hashtag StarCom and I will make sure to get to it. I'm going to be doing this for videos that have already come out, and we're going to do our best to catch up to the stuff that is already down the pipeline. So this will be the start of that. This one is going to be going over the comments from the very first chapters video that came out in March. So enough preamble. Let's get into these comments, people. Comment number 1, 2 swords and then a bunch of numbers. I think a flaw with Naruto's first chapter is that it's heavy on exposition. Both Bleach and One Piece keep exposition short and simple. With Naruto, you're immediately told about the Hokage, the jutsu, the curse, and some other stuff. I am going to have to disagree here. As I've said in these videos in the past, I actually have a problem where stories that have very intricate, strange, and new ideas and concepts shy away from exposition. I think exposition in the right context can actually be extremely helpful. In Naruto, I think it works perfectly. We are in a school setting where students are learning about things that have to do with their world, like you would in history class or what have you. It is the perfect opportunity for everyone to learn about what this world is about, how people do things, and things of that nature. We're in a completely new world. We're in a place where magic exists and giant beasts and people wearing these weird clothes and this new city and this new infrastructure for hierarchy. It's all very weird, and you kind of need to be told all of that stuff so that you can ingrain yourself into the world in a much more satisfying way. I think not having good exposition can really kind of leave you lost in what your expectations are for what the story is going to be moving forward. Trust me, I've read a decent amount of stories that shy away from this, and it's extremely jarring, and it makes getting into the story more annoying than it needs to be. Don't shy away from exposition. It can really help you. All you have to do is just find a way to make it work for your setting. Exposition isn't bad. Bad exposition is. And you can put that and take it to the bank, baby. Also, like, saying Bleach is just not fair, because Bleach world exists in like the natural world that we exist in. The only difference is the whole thing with, the afterlife and stuff, which in my personal opinion, I think the exposition in Bleach is a little more egregious if we're honestly comparing based on what needs to be told. In Naruto, it's like, again, natural setting. I'm in a place where I would hear people talk about these things. In Bleach, is literally like, hey, normal kid who used to go to school and sometimes you see some ghosts. Well, here you're going to sit down and listen to me explain to you what the Soul Society is. If I had to wager which one I think did it better, think I'm going with Naruto. That's all I'm saying. Ian Singe, I think, and then a bunch of numbers. Personally, I'd give One Piece first chapter an 8, Bleach's an 8.5, and Naruto's a 9. One Piece's issue is also what makes it special. It's so much more setup than the others, taking place in the past and not even letting us see the main character do anything, but that's so emblematic of how amazing One Piece is as an overall story. There's not a lot of serialized manga that would have the courage to make the first chapter pretty much entirely set up for the actual journey. Honestly, I don't really know what to say to this one. I feel what you're saying. I'm kind of with you. Yeah, it really kind of just depends, really. I don't have an opinion one way or the other when it comes to allowing the first chapter to be more set up than anything else. Kagurabachi, I think, is the one that most people think about when they say an opening section that feels a lot like setup. As long as that setup is important to what will be important to the overall story moving forward, I think you can get away with it. It depends on what you're trying to do. One Piece and Kagurabachi need to establish what the main character's driving force and personal relationship is that leads them on the path that they're going down. One Piece, obviously a little more joyful. Luffy getting his inspiration to become a pirate and go down his journey with the Straw Hat from Shanks. And then with Kagurabachi, Chihiro, all of that pain and sadness and rage and revenge feeling coming from his strong relationship that he had with his father. So again, if you're doing it from a place of you really want the viewer to fully understand why this character is going down the path that they're going on as they're moving forward, and it's something that you're always going to eventually, come back to in the back of your mind, then yeah, important to do. But again, it's not, you don't need it in every situation. Naruto does just fine without it. So does Bleach. So depends on what you're trying to do with your story. King Kulu in a bunch of numbers. I'm noticing a pattern here, guys. I don't post on channels a lot, but I absolutely love your content and everything about it. I also wanted to make a story of my own, so I wanted to ask if you could make a Discord or a place for others to talk about their story ideas as such. Well, wouldn't you know, we already have a Discord, dummy. You just gotta sign up for the Patreon. It's very easy. Listen, all of the tiers, super accessible, and you get a bunch of other stuff too outside of the Discord. You get snippets early before the videos come out. You even get them a little earlier than they would show up on YouTube. I'm actually planning on doing like months ahead, maybe a month ahead style videos. Working on that. We'll probably start that at the beginning of the year for 2027. Who knows? I am trying to make sure I have more incentives for you guys to sign up for the Patreon. But hey, if you just want to join the Discord, you already know what to do, baby. Link in the description. And tell us about that little story you got. I'd love to hear it. I think that's really cool. I get a lot of comments from people who say that they're writing their stories, or writing their own original stories, and that my videos have helped them. I want you guys to know that warms my heart. Thank you so much. I am happy to inspire. It really, really increases my ego, and it makes my head bigger than it already is. I do want you to know, I am not necessarily a scholar in a lot of the things that I'm talking about. I'm just a guy who likes to read, who likes to engage with media, and a lot of the observations that I'm making are stuff that I've noticed and the stuff that I am taking in, and also things that I've picked up along the way from other creators and other people who consider themselves scholars of film, anime, manga, and other media. So, I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the world. Take my stuff with a grain of salt, but if it is helping you, and if you find anything of the things that I say insightful, then yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. And I love you. Dead Something Doggo with the numbers again. If most people started with One Piece as their first intro to shonen anime, then that poll would probably have One Piece as number 1. I would argue that the thing that made Naruto so popular in the US was that Toonami airing back in 2005, and it was awesome. So much nostalgia as a kid growing up, while One Piece had one of the weirdest dub/censorship in anime history that literally destroyed the anime from growing. Never forget the 4Kids dub. Also, that One Piece rap as a kid was so bad. If I learned the word cringe back then, I would be cringing as I watched it confusingly. You know, that's such an interesting observation. I would say that yes, to an extent, I definitely feel like the way Naruto was handled with Toonami was a little better than it was handled on 4Kids with One Piece. I think there was a lot of people who started One Piece thinking it was a little weird and maybe kind of for kids. And then, you know, Naruto being kind of more gritty and adult, being on Adult Swim with Toonami. And there might have played a role in One Piece not being as popular back in the early 2000s versus the fucking phenomenon that it is now. I also remember thinking it was cringe and weird back then, but I don't know, I kind of liked it on 4Kids still. So maybe I was just, I don't know, man, maybe I was just predisposed to be a One Piece fan from the very beginning. It's whatever. Like, you guys see those like triangles for autism on Twitter, right? Like, it's like Goku, Sonic, and Spider-Man. If I had to make one for myself, I think it would probably be Luffy, Batman, and still Sonic. Shadow's interchangeable with that. If I were to make like an actual inverse, it would probably be Shadow, but like Sonic literally was like, I think I literally woke into consciousness and the first thing I saw was Sonic X on the TV. So, you know, triangle, still similar shape, just replace Goku with Luffy and Spider-Man with Batman, and it's still there. So yeah, I think I was just predisposed to being a One Piece fan. It was always going to happen. It's in my DNA, man. Zatsuki, and the only person without fucking numbers in his name. Really nice video, man. The stories I enjoy the most are when original concepts within a story are quickly subverted, either comedically or as a warning that this can happen as well. At the same time, I do think it's hard to judge a first chapter, only because the subversion usually takes place chapter 2, episode 2, around that time. My headcanon is chapter 1, familiarity, chapter 2, subversion, where I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm invested, although I'm going off the stories I've read and what I'm familiar with, so I might be wrong. But anyways, nice video, man. Can't wait for the next Johnnyverse videos, and I also need to start Bleach. Thank you, Zatsuki, for the very nice comment here. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the times, you know, you're dealing with the 1 to 3 episode rule that I think a lot of people kind of base their interest off of certain series. Like, if I get to episode 3 and I'm still locked in, I'm probably going to like the series, so on and so have you. And I do think that getting into a lot of stories, that kind of is the role that most of them play for getting people into it. Again, you think about One Piece, you have the introductory chapter where Luffy's backstory, you have chapter 2 where he meets Kobe, and then chapter 3 we got Zoro. And from a lot of people who I've met, they typically say that the moment they meet Zoro is when they really lock in on the series. So there might be something to that. I'm sure someone who's smarter than me would be able to make the correlation there. Maybe, you know, Totally Not Mark. He'd probably be able to give some more insight on that. But I think there might be something to that, brother. Koopa Cape says, at the beginning, I was like, damn, yet another instance of an internet reviewer taking something that should be generally subjective and trying to like scienceify it and study the theory and all that. But then I watched the whole vid and loved it. Agreed almost exactly. I was off by 2 points total with the final number ranking before you gave them all a lull, and you put the left brain versus right brain argument on enjoying media so damn eloquently at the end. Fantastic stuff. Subbed. Thank you, Koopa Cape. I appreciate that. Listen, I said it at the end of the video. I'm always going to say it. Every single one of my videos, I am coming at it with this sense of I'm just a guy who thinks these things about the series that I love and enjoy, and I want to share those thoughts, opinions, and feelings with all of you, and hopefully you resonate with me, and even if you don't, hopefully you had a good time. And I think this kind of experiment that I'm doing with these first chapter videos is as a way for me to learn more about what works for the types of series that I end up liking and what are some stuff that I don't like, so that I can find more stories that fit into that path, so I'm enjoying myself better with the manga that I'm reading. And it also opens up a kind of conversation about more than just, hey, this character's stronger than this, or this arc was better than this arc. I want more open discussion about the specific narrative aspects that I enjoy and what other people enjoy and find interesting in, and coming at it from that place. Because I feel like we don't have enough conversations about that openly, especially on the internet. I think, you know, power scaling and stuff has its place and it's cool, but sometimes I think it's best to talk about some other stuff that people might enjoy about these stories, because we always got to remember these are also well-written stories by people who know what they're doing and understand narrative language and things of those nature. So those things should also be interesting and talked about and discussed and praised as much as how cool and sexy looking Gojo looks. So there you go. Archived Human says, Bleach has the best first chapter because it objectively, here we fucking go, gave the reader a solid understanding of what was to come, which would ultimately be its downfall, and was the first of the big three to go. One Piece can't really be compared because it's such a meticulous story that the first chapter was, but a silver amongst silver of introduction. Still number 2 though. Naruto was the worst because in retrospect, Naruto clearly wasn't a fully fleshed out idea at its conception, and within the first 30 or so chapters, it was like they figured out the story as they went. Okay. All right. I have a lot of problems with this comment. Archived Human. Here is what I would come at this with, because I think the comment is warped around a particular framework of your personal opinion. And that's fine. You can feel however you want to feel. Obviously, you don't agree with a lot of things, with some of the things that I said in the video, and that's perfectly okay. I would just remove this air of objectivity that you have on a very subjective vibe. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about art. We're talking about a way that a story was structured and how it introduced a particular person to this particular story. And whether or not it worked for you and didn't work for others is going to be subjective, brother. It just is what it is. I don't think that Bleach's intro is the reason that it was the first to go, and I'm not really sure what that means, because if I remember correctly, Naruto ended before Bleach. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's true. So I'm not sure what you mean the first to go. And Naruto not being a well fleshed out concept is why it sucks. Again, I fully disagree with that, because most people that I speak to say that Naruto's first chapter was so unbelievably impactful that it made them get into the series. So can it be a little messy? Sure, but I think overall the structure of the opening sections of Naruto are some of the most memorable stuff from the series, and I think a lot of people would say that the opening sections of Naruto are their favorite. So I'm not really sure if I vibe with this comment. I'm not really sure if I vibe with this take, but I'm gonna have to give that take right there a 3 out of 10. Awoken Neps and numbers again. Here we fucking go. So much Naruto haters. It's okay if you can't hop. Okay. So much Naruto haters. It's okay if you can't comprehend peak. Solos, Bleach, and One Piece in everything. All right, bud. Look. I like Naruto. I said as much in the video. I think it has the best first chapter. Solos, listen, they were the big three for a reason, bud. They were all boxing each other. Nobody was coming out the king from there. No, not a single person. All right, they were all equally tied in, locked in, deadlocked, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's okay if you like one more than the other, regardless of whatever angle you come from. It's very clear. I am a One Piece fan. I'm a One Piece dick rider. I can accept that. But nobody's soloing anyone. Nobody soloed anyone. They were the big three. They were standing on the totem poles together. Okay, they were standing on the stage together, and they're best friends. They're all besties. All right, they're all making out and kissing and hugging on stage. Okay, so let's not do this soloing thing. Hezi, a bunch of numbers. All three are good, but I'd go with Naruto. One Piece's first episode, however, sucks. It does suck. It's pretty bad. It's like so confusing why they decided to not just do it the way that it was in the manga. Why did they choose to do this weird kind of introduction where Alvida takes over a boat? Why did they do that? I have no idea, and I will never understand. I hope when they redo it for the One Piece stuff, like, you know, the remake, that they just do it the way that it was in the manga. Because just start with the Shanks stuff. It's good stuff. There's no reason to redo it. And also, you're showing Nami ahead of time. Like, what was going on there? What was going on there? I don't understand that at all. And I hated it. And it does suck. Lily Drum says, oh yeah, One Piece is the peak. My favorites are Bleach and One Piece because they leave more questions that you want to know the answer to. Naruto's story touches me deeply. I think I even cried over it. It's objectively good, but sorry, I really don't like Shinobi. I don't know why that made me laugh. I really don't like Shinobi got me. Like, you don't fuck with ninjas at all? Like, at all? No ninjas? I really don't like Shinobi. That was good. That was really good. Okay, again with the objectively thing, guys, we gotta chill on that. There's no objectively good. There's just subjective. If you don't like Naruto, you can say that. It's fine. It's totally okay to say that you don't like Naruto. That's perfectly fine. That is your opinion. And yeah, I also like a little bit of mystery in my storytelling. I like little breadcrumbs that lead you to think about what the implications are for the wider story and where it's going to go and what you might see and, you know, what to wait for and all of that jazz. I think all of that stuff is really good and I think makes for good storytelling moving forward. I'm sorry you don't like Shinobi, dude. I'm really sorry you don't like Shinobi. I promise you, I'm not a Shinobi. I don't hang out with Shinobis, so you are safe here at the JohnnyStar channel. Zafarian Harrison, and then a bunch of numbers. I think I got that right. If I did, I deserve a little cookie for that. Bro, can you do Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super? Well, I did do Dragon Ball already in the most recent first chapter video. Or it might not be the most recent because I am currently working on one, but you know, time, recordings, whatever, you get the gist here. But I think this would have been a good idea, doing Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. So in one of the episodes that I did Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Yu Yu Hakusho, if I remember correctly. And I was thinking about circling back because, you know, some of those series had continuations. So I was thinking about circling back and doing one where it was like Dragon Ball Z, Hunter x Hunter, and then like on, you know, a third thing, whatever I end up doing. I'll figure that out once I decide what the third thing is, because I don't want to do like Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds or something. Like I don't think that would be fun. So I'll find something else to do. But yeah, I'll get to Dragon Ball Z and Super at some point, I think. JJ Candelabra says, off rip, this idiot seems extremely biased to One Piece, and saying there's a lack of theme in Bleach's first chapter is beyond uninformed. All right, so this is going to be our first mean comment. I'm honestly a little excited, especially when we learn about a main race of antagonists with the Hollow and are confirmed with the mystery of why Rukia is being drained of her powers around Ichigo for some reason. Overall, the ranking of the big three seemed obvious, but the way Johnny went about deciding the criteria of each one felt half-baked and unintelligible, like he was riding the fence to be as unoffensive and devoid of critique in ranking vids. All right, so here's all I'm going to say really to this, because I don't want to give people like this too much airtime, so I'll be brief. As I said earlier, these videos are just for the idea of breaking down what these stories are trying to do and what their strengths are when it comes to storytelling. The rankings at the end, as I said, and am going to continue to say, are not important. They are just for fun, as a way for myself and people watching to give their personal feelings on these individual stories, just to get them out. But the purpose of these videos are simply to talk about the media and break them down to their core so that we can have a better appreciation for what these series are trying to do from a writing perspective. I am not going to sit here and confirm anyone's biases about anything in particular, and I'm also not looking to offend or not offend anybody with what I'm saying. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. That's how you feel. It's also very clear, like, you're saying that I'm not being fair and that I'm a One Piece, like I have a One Piece bias, when you very clearly have a Bleach bias. Because, as I said, and I stand by this take, there are no themes, really, in the first Bleach chapter. There's really not a central theme, or at least in the same way that there is for Naruto and One Piece. Bleach is literally just Ichigo, good guy, he sees ghosts, doesn't really have anything else going on, and then he becomes a Shinigami at the end. There we go. End of the opening section of the story. So, if you want to get into the weeds of what happens later on in the story, sure. But we're talking about the first chapter. So, doesn't really work with what you're saying. And, hey man, as long as you watched the video, you left a comment, and all I can really say to that is thank you. Good or bad. So, you rock, my guy, honestly. And that is going to do it for all of the comments from YouTube. So thank you guys for leaving those wonderful, beautiful comments on YouTube. If you join the Discord, I will actually have a section for specific Discord comments. I haven't done that yet, but I will end up doing that very soon. So be on the lookout for that if that is something you're interested in. And that's going to be it for our first episode of Johnny versus the Comments. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. Of course, as always, hit the like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Make sure to join the Patreon so that you can get into the Discord. And also, if you want your comment to show up in these videos as well, make sure to leave the hashtag #StarCom, and we will make sure to read them, and hopefully you end up in one of these. That'll be it for now. See you guys in the next one. Mwah. Bye-bye.